The last human colony on Proxima Centauri fell silent 3 days ago. Commander Geo Park stood motionless before the tactical display, watching as the red symbols of Varaxian warships crept closer to Earth. 6 months of relentless attacks had reduced humanity's territory to a single world and a handful of orbital stations. Billions dead, hundreds of settlements wiped clean. "We have 12 days before their main fleet arrives," said General Lim, his voice rough from too many sleepless nights. "The evacuation ships can only take 20 million people at most." Jiho didn't respond immediately. His mind was elsewhere, fixated on a crazy idea that had kept him awake for the past week. An idea that might save them all, or doom them faster. "Sir, I have a proposal," he finally said, turning to face the Joint Defense Council. "We need to steal the Nemesis." The room fell silent. Admiral Choi was the first to laugh, a harsh sound without humor. "The Arconian Supercarrier, the one that's been floating dead in the Cygnus void for the past century. That's your plan?" "Yes, sir." Joe activated his tablet and projected an image of the massive vessel, over 4 kilometers long, shaped like a barred arrowhead. The Nemesis was the only Arconian supercarrier ever spotted by human scouts. "Our long-range scans show it's intact. The Arconians abandoned it for reasons unknown, but the ship itself appears undamaged. Even if we could reach it," General Lim said, "nobody has ever successfully boarded an Arconian vessel, let alone operated one. With respect, sir, nobody has ever tried with the level of desperation we're facing now." Joe looked around the room. "I've assembled a team of specialists. We can reach the Nemesis in 8 days using our fastest stealth corvette. If we succeed, we gain access to technology centuries beyond our own. If we fail," he shrugged, "we're dead anyway." 3 days later, the stealth corvette Shadowhawk slipped away from Earth during a brief gap in the Varaxian patrol pattern. On board, Geo reviewed his small team one last time. Lieutenant Yuna Kim, their navigation specialist. Dr. Do-Yun Lee, xenotechnology expert. Security Chief Minho Kang. And 12 other specialists. The best humanity had to offer. "This is insane," Yuna said quietly, as they studied the limited scans of the Nemesis. "The Arconians disappeared 50 years ago. Their entire civilization, gone. What if whatever happened to them is still on that ship?" "Then we'll deal with it," Joe replied. "Or would you prefer the Varaxians?" The journey was tense. Twice they had to power down all systems and drift silently as Varaxian scout ships passed nearby. On the 7th day, they reached the Cygnus void, a region of space strangely empty of stars and planets. And there it was, the Nemesis, a dark shadow against the backdrop of distant stars. "It's bigger than I thought," whispered Yuna as they approached. The massive ship dwarfed their corvette, its black hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No lights, no signs of power, just an enormous dead vessel floating in the emptiness. Dr. Lee's instruments detected no energy signatures or life signs. "The ship appears completely powered down, but I'm detecting an atmosphere inside. Breathable, surprisingly." Jiho nodded. "Prep for boarding. Remember, we have no idea what we'll find in there, so stay alert." They docked the Shadowhawk at what appeared to be an airlock near the ship's midsection. Minho led the security team through first, weapons ready. Jiho followed with Yuna and Dr. Lee. The interior was unlike anything they had seen before. The corridors were wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side, with walls that seemed to absorb sound. Strange symbols were etched into surfaces that weren't quite metal or plastic, but something in between. "The air is perfectly breathable," Dr. Lee confirmed, checking his scanner. "Temperature is stable at 19 degrees Celsius. It's as if the ship is waiting." They made their way deeper into the vessel, following what Yuna believed might be a path to the bridge. Hours passed as they explored, finding vast empty chambers whose purpose they could only guess at. The ship seemed designed for a crew of thousands, Yet they found no bodies, no signs of battle or evacuation, just emptiness. It doesn't make sense, Minho said after they had walked for what felt like kilometers. An advanced civilization doesn't just abandon their most powerful warship without reason. Finally, they'd reached what appeared to be the command center, a circular room with a central platform surrounded by consoles and displays, all dark and lifeless. Dr. Lee approached one of the consoles cautiously. "I think these might respond to touch," he said, hovering his hand over a smooth black surface. The Arconians were humanoid, according to the limited records we have. "Wait," Gio cautioned, but Lee had already placed his palm on the console. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft blue light began to glow beneath his hand, spreading outward along lines in the console's surface. Similar lights began to appear throughout the room, racing along channels in the walls and floor. "I think we just woke it up," Lee said, his voice a mix of awe and fear. The lights continued to spread, presumably throughout the ship. A holographic display flickered to life above the central platform, showing what appeared to be a three-dimensional map of the ship. Yuna stepped closer, her eyes wide. "This is incredible. The ship's design. It's not just a carrier. Look at these weapon systems, the drive configuration. This thing was built to reshape reality itself." A soft hum began to build around them as more systems came online. The ship was awakening after decades of dormancy. "Can you figure out how to control it?" Joe asked, approaching the central platform. Yuna studied the holographic display. "Maybe. These controls seem intuitive somehow, as if they're designed to be understood by different species." She hesitantly reached toward one section of the display and moved her hand in a gesture. The hologram responded, zooming in on what appeared to be the engine section. "I think I can navigate this," she said with growing confidence. "It's almost as if the ship is helping me understand." Over the next few hours, they began to grasp the basics of the ship's systems. The Nemesis was indeed a marvel of technology, capable of speeds no human vessel could match, armed with weapons that didn't just destroy targets but removed them from existence by altering local spacetime. "No wonder the Arconians were feared," Minho said as they reviewed the weapon systems. "With a fleet of these, they could have ruled the galaxy. Yet they vanished instead," Joe reminded him. "Let's not forget that." By the time Earth sent an emergency transmission, the Varaxian fleet had arrived early and begun their attack. They had managed to power up the Nemesis engines and were cautiously testing its navigation systems. Jiho gathered the team on the bridge. "We're out of time. Earth falls today unless we act now. We barely understand 10% of this ship's capabilities," Dr. Lee warned. "Attempting to engage the Varaxians could be disastrous. More disastrous than losing Earth." Jiho countered. He turned to Yuna. "Can you get us there?" She nodded slowly. "I think so. The faster-than-light system is unlike anything we use, but the principles are similar. We should be able to reach Earth in under an hour." "Then that's what we'll do," Gio decided. "Humanity has always adapted to survive. Today, we adapt or perish." As the massive ship hummed to life around them, Yuna input the coordinates for Earth. The stars outside the viewports stretched and blurred as the Nemesis, dormant for so long, surged forward with new purpose, carrying humanity's last hope within its ancient hull. The Nemesis moved through space like a shadow, its massive form somehow evading detection as it approached the Sol system. On the bridge, the small human crew worked with frantic energy, each focused on mastering different aspects of the alien vessel. Dr. Do-Yoon Lee had not slept in 36 hours. His eyes burned as he studied the pulsing core at the heart of the ship, a sphere of swirling energy contained within nested rings of an unknown metal. The core didn't burn fuel like human ships. It didn't create controlled fusion or fission. It did something else entirely. "This shouldn't be possible," he muttered, reviewing the data on his tablet. "The core is creating tiny tears in spacetime, harvesting energy from the difference between dimensions." Engineer So-Hyun looked up from her console. That's why the power seems endless. Yes, according to these readings, the ship could run at full capacity for thousands of years without refueling. Do-Hyun shook his head in amazement. Human physicists have theorized this might be possible, but we thought it would take centuries to develop the technology. Commander Geo-Park approached them, his face showing signs of exhaustion but his eyes alert. Can we use this power to fight the Varaxians? If we can figure out how to control it properly, Do-Hyun replied. The weapons systems seem to use the same principle. They don't just destroy targets, they remove sections of space-time entirely. Ji-ho nodded grimly. Keep working. We reach Earth in 5 hours. Across the bridge, Security Chief Min-ho Kang had made a discovery of his own. While exploring the ship's lower levels, he had found what appeared to be personal quarters. Unlike the rest of the ship, these rooms showed signs of hasty departure. Belongings scattered, food left uneaten, personal items abandoned. More disturbing were the log entries he discovered. The Arconians had left recordings, and while the language was unknown, the ship's systems had begun translating them as more power was restored. Commander, you need to see this, Min-ho called, waving Ji-ho over to his station. The screen displayed images of what appeared to be the Arconian crew. Tall, slender beings with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like an octopus. The recording showed them in obvious distress, their skin flashing red and black patterns. The translation is rough, Min-ho explained, but from what I can gather, they were running from something. Something they called the Void Eaters. Void Eaters. Ji-ho frowned. Another species. I don't think so. Listen to this part. Min-ho played another clip. The alien's voice came through the speakers, the ship's translation system rendering it in flat, emotionless tones. The weapon was a mistake. We tore the veil between realities. They came through. They consume everything. Worlds, stars, minds, we cannot stop them. The Nemesis was built to seal the breach, but we failed. They are inside us now. We must abandon ship before we bring destruction to others. A chill ran through the bridge as the message ended. There are hundreds more recordings, Min-ho said quietly, all with the same theme. Whatever these Void Eaters are, the Arconians created them accidentally with their dimensional technology, then built this ship to try to fix their mistake. And they failed, Joe finished, which raises the question, is it safe for us to be using this ship at all? Before anyone could answer, Lieutenant Yume Kim called out from the navigation station. Commander, we have a problem. 3 Varaxian patrol ships on an intercept course. They've detected us. Joe hurried to her station. I don't think so. They appear to be on a standard patrol route, but they'll cross our path in approximately 10 minutes. Can we alter course without losing time? Yunha shook her head. Not significantly. We're still learning how to navigate this thing. Sharp course changes might leave us drifting for hours while the systems recalibrate. Ji-ho considered their options. Could we use the stealth capabilities we've observed? Maybe. Yunha pulled up a display showing what they had identified as the ship's energy distribution system. The hull seems to absorb most forms of detection, but we're still emitting some energy signatures. If we power down all non-essential systems temporarily, we might slip past unnoticed. Do it, Geo ordered. Zoe, help her redirect power. Everyone else, prepare for blackout conditions. The lights on the bridge dimmed as Zoe worked to shut down systems across the massive vessel. The hum of power dropped to a whisper. Screens flickered off, leaving only emergency lighting and basic life support. Holding position. Yunha reported quietly, as if the Varaxians might hear her through the vacuum of space. Patrol ships approaching. 8 minutes to closest point. The crew waited in tense silence. This was their first real test. If the Varaxians detected them, the element of surprise would be lost, and Earth might fall before they could reach it. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. A strange sensation passed through everyone on the bridge, like being watched by unseen eyes. What was that? Geo demanded. Do-hyun checked his remaining instruments. Energy spike in the core. I don't understand. We powered everything down. The sensation came again, stronger this time. In the dim light, shadows seemed to move oddly, stretching in impossible directions. The logs, Minho whispered. The Void Eaters. What if powering down the systems keeping them out? Voraxian ships passing at minimum distance, Yoonha reported, her voice tight with tension. 2 minutes until they're clear. Another wave of the strange sensation washed over them. This time, Jiho could have sworn he heard voices, whispers just beyond understanding, promising knowledge, power, release from fear. Everyone focus, he commanded. Whatever's happening, we hold until those ships pass. The minutes stretched painfully. The whispers grew louder, more enticing. Several crew members began to look around frantically, as if seeing things the others couldn't. They're clear, Yoonha finally announced. Voraxian ships continuing on patrol route. Power up. Now, Geo ordered, so he rushed to restore the ship's systems. As lights and screens flickered back to life, the strange sensations receded, the shadows returned to normal, and the whispers faded. Everyone all right? Geo asked, looking around at his shaken crew. What was that? Someone asked. Do-hyun was already reviewing data from the incident. The core's containment fields weakened when we diverted power. I think something was trying to come through. The Void Eaters, Minho said grimly. Jiho took a deep breath. We need to understand this ship better, and fast. We can't afford another incident like that. Do-hyun, focus on the containment systems. Make sure whatever happened doesn't happen again. As systems came fully online, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. What now? Jiho demanded. Soe looked up from her console, eyes wide. We're being hailed, not by the Voraxians, by the Tellurian Alliance. Somehow they detected our power surge. The Tellurian Alliance, a coalition of 3 alien species that had maintained neutrality in the human-Voraxian war, was not an enemy, but neither were they allies. They're demanding we identify ourselves. So he continued. They're saying no human vessel has this energy signature, and they want to know how we acquired Arconian technology. Ignore them, Geo ordered. We don't have time for diplomacy. Sir, Yoonha said hesitantly, the Tellurians are sending out wideband communications to all nearby systems. They're reporting that humans have somehow acquired an Arconian vessel. This is going to alert everyone, including the Voraxians. Jiho paced the bridge, considering their options. How much longer to Earth? 4 hours at current speed, Yoonha replied. Can we go faster? Do-hyun and Soe exchanged glances. Maybe, Soe said. We've only been using a fraction of the drive's potential, but pushing it higher without understanding the systems fully. It's a risk we have to take, Jiho decided. The Voraxians will know we're coming now. Our only advantage is speed. He turned to face his crew. I need everyone working together. Understand this ship, master its technology, find out how to use its weapons. Earth's survival depends on it. As the crew returned to their stations with renewed purpose, Jiho stared out at the stars streaking past. They had stolen the most powerful ship in known space, awakened ancient technology beyond human understanding, and possibly disturbed entities that had frightened even the advanced Arconians. But behind them lay only defeat, and ahead, their final chance for survival. No matter what whispered from the shadows, they would press on. Earth's orbital defense platforms were falling one by one. The Voraxian fleet, over 200 warships strong, had arrived earlier than expected and now formed a deadly net around humanity's homeworld. From the bridge of the Nemesis, Commander Geo Park watched the battle unfold through the ship's advanced sensors. The lunar base is gone, reported Lieutenant Yoonha Kim, her voice steady despite the grim news. Defense platforms 7 through 12 are offline. Earth has maybe an hour before orbital defenses fail completely. Jiho nodded silently. They had pushed the stolen Supercarrier to its limits, but the Tellurian Alliance's warning had given the Varaxians time to accelerate their attack. Now they were arriving at a battle already half lost. "Status report," he demanded, turning to his small crew. Dr. Doyen Lee looked up from his station. "The core is stable, but we still don't understand most of its capabilities. We've identified what appear to be weapon systems, but we've only managed to activate the basic targeting interfaces. Communications are still problematic," added Communications Officer Juan Choi. "I can receive Earth's transmissions, but our outgoing signals are in Arconian format. Earth's systems can't decode them." Jiho made his decision. "We have no choice. We attack now with what we have, or there won't be an Earth to save." He straightened his uniform and addressed the bridge crew. "All hands to battle stations. Yunha, set course directly for the center of the Varaxian fleet." "Sir." Yunha looked up in surprise. "Their flagship is there, surrounded by their heaviest cruisers." "Exactly. They won't expect a frontal assault." Jiho turned to Juan. "Keep trying to contact Earth. They need to know we're friendly." The massive ship surged forward, its alien engines pushing it to speeds no human vessel could match. On the tactical display, the Varaxian fleet appeared as a swarm of red markers surrounding the blue sphere of Earth. "They've detected us," Security Chief Minho Kang announced from the tactical station. "Multiple ships breaking formation to intercept." "Hold course," Jiho ordered. "Doyun, are those weapons ready?" "As ready as they'll ever be," the scientist replied nervously. "I've routed basic controls to Minho's station, but we're essentially pressing buttons and hoping for the best." The first Varaxian ships came into visual range, sleek, predatory vessels with forward-sweeping wings and hulls that glowed with a sickly green energy. 5 destroyers, moving to cut off the Nemesis approach. "They're hailing us," Juan reported. "Standard Varaxian ultimatum. Surrender or be destroyed." No response. Jiho said, "Minho, target the lead destroyer." Minho manipulated the alien targeting controls, his fingers dancing across symbols he barely understood. "Target locked, I think. Firing solution. Unclear. These readings don't make sense." "Fire anyway," Jiho commanded. Minho pressed what they had identified as the firing control. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a pulse of blue-white energy emerged from the Nemesis, so bright it made the bridge crew shield their eyes. The energy struck the lead Varaxian destroyer, and the ship simply vanished. No explosion, no debris. One moment it existed, and the next it was gone, leaving only a strange distortion in space where it had been. Stunned silence fell over the bridge. "What just happened?" Joe finally asked. Doyun was staring at his readings in disbelief. The weapon didn't destroy the ship, it removed a section of space-time. The ship wasn't damaged, it's just gone, along with the space it occupied. The remaining Varaxian destroyers broke formation, clearly as shocked as the humans by what they had witnessed. "They're retreating," Minho reported, amazement in his voice. "Not for long," Jiho said. "Target the next group. We push forward while they're confused." The Nemesis continued its advance toward the heart of the Varaxian fleet. 2 more times they fired the strange weapon, and 2 more enemy ships vanished from existence. With each successful attack, Do-hyun and engineer So-yoon gained more understanding of the systems. "The weapon creates a localized fold in space-time," Do-hyun explained as they approached the main fleet. "It's not destroying matter, it's sending it somewhere else. Another dimension, perhaps. The power requirements are massive," so he added. "We can only fire approximately once every 2 minutes before the systems need to recharge." The initial shock was wearing off, and the Varaxians were regrouping. Dozens of ships now moved to intercept the Nemesis, their weapons charging. "Multiple weapons locks on us," Minho warned. "Impact in 20 seconds. Evasive maneuvers," Jiho ordered, but Yunha shook her head. "This ship wasn't built for agility. It's too massive." braced for impact. The Varaxian weapons fire struck the Nemesis and seemed to be absorbed by its hull. The ship shuddered slightly, but damage reports showed all systems nominal. "The hull," Zoe exclaimed, checking her readings. "It's converting the energy of their weapons into additional power for our systems." Jiho allowed himself a small smile, then let them keep firing. Minho, target their flagship. As the battle continued, Juwan finally made a breakthrough with the communication system. "Commander, I've managed to adapt our signals. Earth Defense Command is receiving us." "Put them through," Jiho ordered. The voice of Admiral Choi came through, filled with disbelief. "Park, is that really you? What are you piloting?" "The Arconian Supercarrier, sir," Jiho replied. "We succeeded. We need Earth's remaining forces to coordinate with us. The Nemesis is powerful, but we can't fight the entire fleet alone." "Understood. Sending tactical data now. All remaining Earth forces will support your attack." With Earth's defense forces now coordinating with them, the battle shifted. The Varaxians, facing a weapon they had never encountered before, began to fall back, their carefully planned invasion dissolving into chaos. The Nemesis carved a path through the enemy fleet, each activation of its main weapon erasing another Varaxian ship from existence. Earth's fighters and remaining cruisers followed in its wake, picking off damaged enemy vessels. On the bridge, the human crew worked with growing confidence. Juwan coordinated with Earth's forces, directing them away from the Nemesis firing arcs. Zoe discovered additional weapon systems, defensive arrays that could target multiple smaller ships simultaneously. "The Varaxian flagship is changing course," Minho reported after an hour of battle. "They're retreating. The entire fleet is following." Cheers erupted across the bridge. Jiho allowed his crew a moment of celebration before raising his hand for silence. "This is only the beginning," he reminded them. "They'll be back, and in greater numbers, but we've bought Earth time." Over the next few days, as the Nemesis took position as Earth's new primary defense, the political landscape of the galaxy began to shift dramatically. The Tellurian Alliance, previously neutral, sent representatives to open diplomatic channels with humanity. Other species, long intimidated by Varaxian aggression, began to reach out as well. "They're afraid of us now," Admiral Choi told Jiho during a briefing in Earth orbit. "Or rather, they're afraid of what we might do with this ship." The Arconians were feared throughout the galaxy, and now humans control their most powerful weapon. "We barely understand it," Jiho admitted. "We got lucky." Lucky or not, we now have leverage. The Supercarrier Confederation is offering military support. The Nix Collective wants to establish trade agreements. Even the Tellurians, who warned the Varaxians about us, are now claiming they meant it as a test of our capabilities. Jiho looked out at Earth through the viewport, still blue, still whole, still home. And the Varaxians? Admiral Choi's expression darkened. "Our long-range scouts report they're gathering a massive armada. Every ship they have. This was just the first wave. They're coming back, and they're bringing everything." "How long do we have?" 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Jiho nodded slowly. "Then we have work to do. We need to understand more of the Nemesis systems before they return. And..." He hesitated, remembering Minho's discovery about the Void Eaters. "We need to be careful. This ship carries dangers beyond just its weapons." As Jiho returned to the Nemesis, he found his crew already hard at work, pushing themselves to unlock more of the ship's secrets. Earth had survived its first stand against extinction. Humanity had proven itself resourceful beyond anyone's expectations. But the real test was yet to come. Deep in the Nemesis, Tactical Officer Hyun-Woo Ba worked alone in what they had come to call the archive room. The walls were lined with Arconian data storage units, and he had spent days trying to access their contents. 7 days had passed since their victory against the Varaxian fleet, and Earth enjoyed an uneasy peace as they prepared for the coming counterattack. "These symbols make no sense," Hyun-Woo muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. Despite the translation systems working for basic ship functions, the deeper archives remained locked behind complex security protocols. He pressed his palm against the main console once more, trying a different access sequence. Suddenly, the room dimmed, and a soft blue light began to pulse from the central platform. Genetic pattern analyzed. Determination. Non-Arconian entity. The voice that filled the room was neither male nor female, speaking perfect human language with an odd musical quality. Purpose assessment initiated. Hyunwoo froze. Hello? Are you the ship's eye? The blue light pulsed with each word. I am Sentinel, Oversight Intelligence of Vessel Nemesis. You are not Arconian. Explain your presence. Hyunwoo swallowed hard. I'm human. My name is Hyunwoo Ba. We borrowed your ship because our species is facing extinction at the hands of the Varaxians. A pause. Accessing recent memory banks. Confirming battle records. Varaxian aggression pattern identified. Your species operated this vessel effectively despite limited understanding. We did what we had to do, Hyunwoo said simply. We had no choice. Another pause, longer this time. Analyzing decision trees. Calculating probability matrices. Determination. Your actions mirror Arconian core values of preservation and innovation. Access granted. The room suddenly filled with holographic displays, star charts, technical schematics, and historical records. Thank you. Hyunwoo breathed, then tapped his communicator. Commander Park, you need to come to the archive room immediately. The ship's eye is awake. Commander Geo Park stood before the representatives of 7 alien species, their faces displayed on separate screens in the Nemesis' newly discovered conference chamber. The diplomatic meeting had been hastily arranged after requests flooded in from across the galaxy. Humanity appreciates your offers of alliance, Geo said carefully, but we must question the timing. For years, our colonies were attacked while you all stood by. The Tellurian ambassador, a tall being with iridescent skin, leaned forward. Commander Park, surely you understand. The balance of power has shifted. Your possession of Arconian technology changes everything. So it's not alliance you seek, but access to this ship, Geo replied bluntly. We prefer to call it mutual benefit. The Nyx representative hissed through translator implants. The Varaxians gather a fleet that will overwhelm even your impressive vessel. Together, we can ensure victory. Geo studied each alien face, seeing the same thing in all of them. Fear mixed with greed. I will bring your offers to Earth's leadership. That is all for now. As the screens went dark, Medical Officer Jisoo Ryo entered the chamber, her normally calm face lined with worry. Commander, we have a situation. 3 crew members are showing unusual symptoms after extended exposure to the core section. What kind of symptoms? Hallucinations, insomnia, and, she hesitated, they're all reporting the same dreams. Dreams about endless darkness filled with something they call hunger. Jiho felt a chill. The Void Eaters. Possibly. I've ordered them to remain in the medical bay under observation. Jisoo handed him a datapad. There's more. Initial scans show subtle changes in their brain chemistry. The ship is affecting them somehow. Before Jiho could respond, his communicator chimed urgently. Commander, came Hyunwoo's excited voice. You need to come to the archive room immediately. The ship's eye is awake. Within an hour, the senior officers gathered in the archive room, watching in amazement as Sentinel, the ship's eye, displayed holographic records of Arconian history and technology. The Arconians were a peaceful species until they began experimenting with dimensional technology, Sentinel explained, showing images of beautiful spiral cities and sleek vessels. Their civilization spanned 300 worlds at its peak. What happened to them? Asked Jiho. The holographic display darkened, showing what appeared to be a massive scientific installation. The Dimensional Aperture Project, an attempt to harvest energy from parallel realities. The experiment succeeded beyond expectations, providing unlimited power. The image shifted to show the same installation surrounded by darkness, with strange, flowing shapes moving through the scientists. But they created a tear in reality. Entities from the void between dimensions detected the energy and came through. The Arconians called them Void Eaters, beams of pure entropy that consume ordered reality and convert it to chaos. That's what the Nemesis was built to fight. Dr. Lee asked, his face pale. Correct. This vessel contains technology designed to seal dimensional breaches and, if necessary, create controlled reality bubbles to contain threats. The Arconians built 7 such vessels. This is the only one that survived. A heavy silence fell over the room. And the Arconians? Joe finally asked. What happened to them? Extinction, Sentinel replied simply. The Void Eaters consumed their worlds one by one. In their final act, the remaining Arconians attempted to seal the largest breach using this vessel. They failed. The crew was corrupted by void influence and abandoned ship rather than risk spreading the contamination. Are these Void Eaters still a threat? Minho asked. Unknown. The primary breach was partially sealed, but smaller tiers may remain. The entities exist in a state of semi-dormancy, but strong energy signatures, like this ship's weapons, could potentially attract their attention. Jiho exchanged worried glances with his officers, and every time we fire the main weapon, we're creating new tiers in space-time. Correct, Sentinel confirmed. Each use risks further incursions. 2 days later, Commander Park stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at Earth glowing blue and white against the blackness of space. The burden of what they had learned weighed heavily on him. May I join you? Dr. Lee asked, entering quietly. Jiho nodded. I've been thinking about our options. They're all bad. Sentinel has been helping us understand more of the ship's systems, Do-Yun said. We can use the weapons more precisely now, with less risk of dimensional bleed-through. But you're right. Each use is still dangerous. And if we don't use them, the Varaxians will destroy Earth. Jiho sighed. Meanwhile, every alien race in the sector wants to be our friend now, all hoping to get their hands on this technology. Technology that destroyed its creators, Do-Hyun added grimly. Their conversation was interrupted by Security Chief Minho rushing onto the deck. Commander, we've detected unusual energy readings from the lunar dark zone. It appears to be a small Varaxian scout ship, but there's something wrong with it. Define wrong. Its energy signature is fluctuating wildly, and it's broadcasting on all frequencies in a language our systems can't translate. Within minutes, they had brought the image up on the main bridge screens. The Varaxian scout was indeed behaving strangely, moving in erratic patterns around the dark side of the moon. Its hull seemed to shimmer, as if not quite solid. Sentinel, Joe called to the ship's eye. Analysis. The AI's blue light pulsed from a nearby console. Void contamination detected. The vessel has been compromised. You mean? The crew has been infected by void entities. The ship is being used as a probe to test our defenses and gather information. Tactical Officer Hyunwoo looked up from his station, face grim. Sir, if the Void Eaters are making contact with the Varaxians. Jiho didn't need him to finish. If the entities that had destroyed the Arconians were now interfacing with humanity's enemies, they faced a threat far worse than mere extinction. We need to destroy that ship immediately, he ordered. Minimum weapons power, precisely targeted. As the Nemesis moved to intercept the corrupted scout, Medical Officer Jisoo appeared on the bridge, bringing more disturbing news. The affected crew members are getting worse, she reported quietly to Jiho. They're hearing voices now, urging them toward the core. I've had to sedate them. Keep them isolated, Jiho ordered, and start scanning all crew members daily for similar symptoms. The Nemesis positioned itself above the erratic Varaxian scout. At Jiho's command, they fired the smallest possible weapon burst. The scout vanished, along with a tiny portion of space around it. No void leakage detected, Sentinel reported. Containment successful. Jiho nodded, but took little comfort in the small victory. On the tactical display, long-range sensors showed the massive Voraxian armada continuing to grow at the edge of the system. Meanwhile, diplomatic requests from a dozen species continued to pour in, each seeking alliance with, or control of, the humans and their powerful new weapon. And somewhere beyond normal space, ancient hunger stirred, drawn by the energy of a ship that was both humanity's salvation and, potentially, the galaxy's doom. The Voraxian armada filled the view screens of the Nemesis Bridge, over 1,000 warships arranged in attack formation at the edge of the solar system. For 2 weeks, the massive fleet had been gathering, pulling ships from every corner of Voraxian territory. Now they were ready to launch their final assault on Earth. They'll be in range in 30 minutes, Tactical Officer Hyun Woo-bai reported, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds they faced. Commander Geo Park studied the tactical display, where Earth's allied forces seemed pitifully small in comparison. The remaining human defense fleet, bolstered by ships from the Tellurian Alliance and 3 other species who had decided to stand with humanity. Even with the Nemesis, victory seemed impossible. All systems are at full capacity, Engineer Soi Yoon announced. Sentinel has optimized the weapons for maximum efficiency with minimal dimensional bleed-through. The ship's AI pulsed softly from its control node. Probability of successful defense, 17.3%. Recommend preparation of evacuation protocols. No one's evacuating, Jiho said firmly. We make our stand here. Science Officer Taehyun Han burst onto the bridge, his normally calm demeanor shattered by excitement or fear, perhaps both. Commander, I need to speak with you immediately. It's about the Voraxians. We're about to face their entire fleet, Taehyun. Whatever you found can wait until... No, it can't, Taehyun interrupted, something he had never done before. I've been analyzing the corrupted scout ship's broadcast. Sentinel helped me break the encryption. He took a deep breath. They weren't sending tactical data. They were sending a warning. The bridge fell silent. Explain, Geo ordered. The message was meant for us, for any sentient life in this sector. The Voraxians aren't conquering for territory or resources. Taehyun's voice dropped. They're running from something they call the Great Darkness, something that destroyed their outer colonies 3 years ago. The Void Eaters, Minho whispered. Yes, the same entities the Arconians created. The Voraxians discovered one of the tiers in reality and tried to use it as a weapon. Instead, they awakened the entities and have been fleeing ever since, conquering territories to use as buffer zones. Can you verify this? Joe asked Sentinel. The AI's light pulsed faster, analyzing Voraxian fleet movements over past 5 years. Confirmed. Their expansion pattern is consistent with flight rather than conquest. They establish defensive perimeters, then move on, abandoning outer territories once they are compromised. So Earth was never their target, Geo realized. Just another defensive position. If the Void Eaters have been following the Voraxians, Medical Officer Jisoo Ryu began. Then they're already here, Do-yeon finished grimly. The corrupted scout proves it. The tactical display suddenly flickered, showing strange distortions appearing behind the Voraxian fleet. Alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple dimensional anomalies detected, Hyunwoo reported. They're not natural. The space behind the Voraxian fleet is tearing open. On the view screens, darkness began to pool among the stars, not the normal blackness of space, but something deeper, something that seemed to devour light itself. Within that darkness, shapes moved with terrible purpose. The Voraxian fleet is breaking formation, Communications Officer Ju-won Choi announced. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. It appears to be a general distress call. They know what's coming, Jiho said quietly. He made his decision instantly. Open a channel to the Voraxian command ship. Ju-won worked quickly. Channel open, sir. "This is Commander Geopark of Earth," he began, "to the Varaxian Fleet Commander. We know what you're running from. We have encountered these entities before." For a long moment, there was no response. Then a harsh voice replied, speaking accented but understandable human language. "This is Supreme Commander Krezar. You know nothing of our plight, human." "We know more than you think," Joe countered. "The Void Eaters destroyed the Arconian civilization centuries ago. This ship was built to fight them." A pause. "The Nemesis," Krezar finally said. "We thought it was legend. Your primitive species should not possess such technology. Yet here we are," Joe replied. "And right now we have a common enemy. One that will destroy all of us. Varaxian, human, and every other species in this galaxy, if we don't work together." On the view screens, the darkness continued to spread, engulfing the rearmost Varaxian ships. Where the void touched, vessels simply ceased to exist. "What do you propose?" Krezar asked, desperation entering his voice as he watched his fleet begin to disintegrate. Jiho turned to Sentinel. "The Nemesis was built to seal breaches in reality. Can it seal this one?" "Negative," the AI replied. "The breach is too large and expanding too rapidly. Complete sealing would require energy equivalent to a small sun." "Then what options do we have?" Sentinel's light dimmed momentarily, as if in thought. "The Arconian plan was never to destroy the Void Eaters, but to contain them in a pocket dimension, a bubble of reality separate from our own. The Nemesis can create such a space, but the process requires precise positioning at the center of the breach." "You mean fly directly into that?" Geo pointed at the spreading darkness. "Correct. The ship would serve as an anchor point for the new dimension. However, there is a high probability that the ship and any beings aboard would be trapped within the pocket dimension permanently." A heavy silence fell over the bridge as everyone understood the implication. A suicide mission. The darkness had now consumed nearly a quarter of the Varaxian fleet. The remaining ships were firing desperately into the void, their weapons having no effect. "Supreme Commander Krezar," Geo said, returning to the communication channel. "We have a way to stop this, but we'll need your cooperation. I need your fleet to create a defensive perimeter while we position the Nemesis." "To do what?" Krezar demanded. "To create a pocket dimension that will trap these entities forever." A long pause. "You would sacrifice yourselves for this, after we have tried to destroy your world." "We're fighting for all life now," Joe answered simply. Another pause. "Then we will cover your approach. The Varaxian Collective stands with Earth." Jiho turned to his crew. "I won't order anyone to stay on board. This is volunteer only." Not a single person moved toward the exit. "We started this together," Yuna said quietly. "We'll finish it together." Jiho nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "Sentinel, plot the most direct course to the center of the breach. Do-Yun, prepare the dimensional systems. Juan, inform Earth of our plan." As the Nemesis began its approach, the remaining Varaxian ships formed a protective ring around it, their weapons firing continuously to clear a path through the darkness. Earth's allies joined them, creating layers of defense. "We're receiving transmissions from every ship in the combined fleet," Juan reported, tears in her eyes. They're wishing us luck, even the Varaxians." The darkness grew closer, now visible as a swirling maelstrom of nothingness. Within it, the shapes became clearer, vast, flowing entities that seemed made of living shadow, with limbs that stretched across thousands of kilometers. "Dimensional systems at full power," Do-Yun reported. "Ready on your command." "Core energy at maximum," added Zoe. "The ship can't take much more." The Nemesis plunged into the darkness, the void entities swirling around it hungrily. "Now," Geo ordered. Do-Yun activated the sequence. The ship shuddered violently as reality itself began to warp around them. Through the viewports, they could see space folding, twisting, creating a bubble of existence separate from the universe they knew. "It's working," Tae-Yun exclaimed. watching his sensors. The entities are being pulled into the pocket dimension with us. The process seemed to last forever, though in reality it took less than a minute. When it was done, the view screen showed a strange, altered version of space, similar yet subtly different, with stars that shone with unusual colors. Status report, Geo ordered, picking himself up from the floor where the violent transition had thrown him. Dimensional separation complete, Sentinel announced. The pocket universe is stable. All void entities have been contained. And our position? Geo asked. We exist in a space between spaces, the AI explained. A reality bubble approximately 1 light-year in diameter, containing this vessel and the void entities. We are no longer connected to our original universe. The bridge crew looked at each other, the reality of their situation sinking in. They had succeeded in saving Earth, saving the galaxy, but at the cost of ever returning home. Wait, Zoe said suddenly, studying her console. The pocket dimension is stable, but I'm detecting a thread of connection back to normal space. It's small, but it's there. Sentinel, explain, Geo demanded. The human mind has properties that Arconians lacked, the AI stated. Your consciousness maintains quantum connections regardless of dimensional barriers. This ship responds to those connections. You're saying we could find our way back? Do-Yun asked. Perhaps, not physically, but there may be ways to transmit information, to maintain contact, possibly, eventually, to create a stable bridge. Geo looked around at his crew, these humans who had accomplished the impossible, who had chosen sacrifice over surrender. Then that's our new mission. We've saved Earth. Now we find our way back to it. As the Nemesis drifted through its pocket of reality, its human crew began to work once more, their ingenuity and determination undiminished. They had done the unthinkable, turned an ancient weapon into a bridge between worlds, ended a war, and contained a threat to all existence. And somewhere,